Welcome back, everybody, inside the Nittany Lion Sports Report. Bob Long, Tyler Gelhaus, and it's time for the Blitz, where we go to the whiteboard and we evaluate one aspect of Penn State football, whether good or bad, and break it down for you step by step. So last week, we got a lot of good feedback about Sean Clifford and our discussion on him when it came to footwork and evaluating the different aspects of the football field. So remember, we broke this down, if you saw us last week, into 4 quadrants of the football field, and really 4 quadrants when you look at the 2 flats, and then downfield we're splitting that in half right down the middle. And Sean Clifford last week, when he established his position in the pocket, anytime there was a rusher coming after him, he would have trouble with keeping the eyes downfield, maintaining the footwork, and it was closer to half P feet than it was to moving effectively and adroitly in the pocket. And thereby, you really could only identify one half of the football field to truly find a wide receiver. And we talked about Justin Shorter on this side of the field as the true X receiver versus Dotson as the Z and Hamler as the slot. Hamler certainly the best target and the most athletic and just generally the guy who gets open the most. So since that's naturally your first read, Dotson kind of got involved with that, but Shorter left somewhat on an island, wasn't getting as many targets. Well, we saw a lot of different receivers go out there against Maryland, certainly, but Sean Clifford did a much better job, and Ricky Ronnie did a much better job allowing multiple receivers to get involved and allowing Clifford to be more successful in the offense. So let's talk about that. Clifford certainly still had his share of quick reads. So let's just throw KJ Hamler here and Dotson here as it normally would be. KJ did a great job of getting into the middle of the field. A lot of linebackers would come up. Clifford, first read, understood it, found Hamler. Some of that is Maryland not defending very well, and Clifford didn't need to get to his first read. Some of that is Ricky Ronnie putting his receivers in better positions to get open quickly. Some of that is the running backs doing a better job blocking and allowing Clifford more time. But we're not just going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the improvements that Sean Clifford did have. And it is most effectively going to be demonstrated on one play in particular, and that was a play towards the end of the first half, starting from the 37-yard line, where he had Journey Brown to his right. On this side of the field, you had KJ Hamler in a tight formation here, right near the line, and Bowers at the tight end position was actually lined up outside him, and then Dotson was out here. So certainly you'd think the first read would be to this side of the field. And if we redid this last week, you'd say, okay, well, if he's able to see and scope this area, but the footwork is still a problem and he's not able to get through his progressions, how is he going to find anybody over here? I'm with you. It would have been a struggle last week. But he worked really hard over the course of the last 2 weeks to get ready for this. He mentioned it after the game. He mentioned that his footwork wasn't the way he wanted it to be. So what did he do? He drops back on this play. Dotson heads out this way. Bowers runs a little post, and KJ comes underneath as well. His first read is to KJ Hamler. Then his eyes flow to Bowers. Neither of those guys are open. Weak side pressure comes from the Maryland defense, and Journey Brown chooses, okay, am I going to block or am I going to scoot out? Well, the right tackle, Will Fries, does a pretty good job to push his defender out towards the sideline. Clifford's in this area. Journey Brown heads out here. Clifford's able to step up, and with his eyes up, avoids the pressure, finds Journey Brown open in the flat. Brown to the end zone, touchdown. I don't think that would have happened 2 weeks ago. Sean Clifford, the footwork was the key on that particular play. The ability to scoot in the pocket, move the feet with effectiveness and with a purpose, rather than just kind of skittering them. Happy feet is the term that I've used to describe this before. And that is what 2 weeks can do. That is what playing against a pretty good defensive team like Pitt can do. And that's a guy working really hard. He was really excited after that Pitt game to get back to the film and truly evaluate himself in a distinctive and a critical way. And that play, as much as any play we saw against that Maryland team, here's the part of the field where the first and the second read truly are, right? Dotson heading deep. Bowers and KJ are in the same area, but those are your first two reads, and there's nobody really on this side of the field. So he reads that. It's not there. Steps up in the pocket. Journey Brown here, keeping the eyes upfield and using that effective footwork and vision to get through multiple progressions, find his running back, ends up with 6 for the Nittany Lions. So there's a lot of things to break down there. Certainly, we talked about some of the play call from Ricky Ronnie, and that allowed him to be successful, allowed him to get the ball out quicker than they did against Pitt. Certainly, Maryland maybe not be the best defensive team and allowed some of those openings. But do not be deterred. Sean Clifford improved in a big way, had his best game as a Penn State Nittany Lion, which is 2 yards short of being the third Penn State quarterback in history to get to 400 yards. And from a fundamentals perspective, there was a lot to like from Sean Clifford. And I think there's a lot to like moving forward. One more, we won't call it tune-up, but one more game here this weekend against Purdue. And then I think he's going to need to put some of these skills to the test against a really talented Iowa team. And that's the game that I'm really looking forward to see just how far Sean Clifford has come.